no motor communication errors. These instructions are intended to assist qualified, experienced service personnel only. Improper servicing of machinery may result in hazardous conditions, personal injury, or damage to property. Persons not trained or persons unfamiliar with Electrolux and Wascomat laundry machines should refer servicing to qualified personnel. Please have your Fast Track manual as additional reference while viewing this video. The no motor communication error means that the washer's CPU, that is, its main controller, has sent a command to the electronic unit that drives the motor, known as the Motor Control Unit, or MCU, and that the CPU has not received a message back from the MCU acknowledging the command. The CPU receives its power from a 9-volt DC power supply that provides power to all of the controls in the machine except for the MCU. The MCU receives its power directly from the AC power input to the machine. This error can, and often does, result from a loss of power in or to the MCU. And so that's the first problem for which we check when this error appears. The first thing you'll need to do is start a wash program. If the no motor comm error appears on the display, then troubleshoot the issue as follows. Remove the top panel of the machine. To do this, you'll need a T30 Torx bit, a driver, and the key that locks the top of the machine. Now locate the green LED inside the top of the motor control unit. If the LED is lit and blinking off momentarily once every 5 seconds, it indicates that there is power to the MCU and that the control electronics in the MCU are functioning. If the LED is not blinking as described, trace the fault in the voltage feed to the MCU PCB as described in the service manual for the relevant machine. Check the input voltage. It should read between 208 and 240 volts AC to the motor control unit. You should take this measurement on the rear of the connector. If the measurement reads within the acceptable range, it is likely a fault in the motor control unit communications circuits. If this is the case, replace the MCU. Please refer to the service manual for your specific machine for details on this procedure. If this resolves the problem, there's no further action needed. You may replace all of the panels and put the machine back into service. With the LED on the MCU blinking as described, and if the problem still exists, then it is a probable fault in the CPU PCB communication circuits or in the communication cable between the MCU and the CPU. As a safety reminder, it is very important that you turn off the power to the machine before moving forward with the following procedure. Now, check each lead of the communications harness between the MCU and the CPU connector for continuity and for short circuits between the leads. First, inspect the connector pins on this harness to ensure that they're making contact with the corresponding contacts on the MCU and CPU circuit boards. To do this, disconnect both ends of the communication harness and test each wire for continuity. If a fault is detected during these tests, replace the communication harness. If the motor communication harness reveals no faults, replace the CPU. Note that replacement CPUs are shipped without firmware loaded in them. You can use the online firmware download resource to find the proper firmware using your machine's serial number. Use the Common Service Tool Utility program to load the firmware into the replacement CPU with your laptop computer. If you need additional support for your machine, please contact our technical care team via email or phone.